Good morning, INTERWEB. Let's world build. Word building, the process of constructing a language's vocabulary, or in linguist speak, its lexicon. There is no one correct way of constructing words, but I like to create basic root words, run them through a derivation system, and then log them alphabetically in a spreadsheet. Rinse and repeat. Systematically translating the English dictionary one for one will lead to an incoherent English clonelang. So to avoid this, I create words as I need them when I'm writing or world building. Like let's say I'm mapping and I need a word for river, stream, brook, etc. First thing I do is construct a basic root word for the concept of river. My language's phonotactics allow for a max syllable structure of CCVCC, but I tend to choose something smaller for my roots to allow for future expansion. Let's say CVC. I then go to my phonemic inventory and begin selecting sounds. To reduce my options, I try to think symbolically. What sounds remind me of running water? For me, that's fricatives, liquids, and nasals, and vowels like a and o, as they feel deep and wide, like a river. Compare a and o to e. More on sound symbolism later. Anyways, with my choices limited, I start mashing together sounds until I get a basic root I'm happy with. Nam. Also, be aware that natlangs don't distribute their sounds evenly. We should try to replicate something like this in our conlangs. Don't keep using the most obscure sounds in your inventory just because you think they're cool. Next step is to hit up all the dictionaries I can and translate river back and forth through as many languages as possible. I constantly try to do the opposite of English. Where English has several words that exist in the same semantic space, I try to combine them. And where English has several words with vastly different meanings, I try to create a different word for each entry. In this case, river is quite singular in its semantic reach, so dictionary studies is an important step to extend the semantic scope a bit. Here's some of the interesting goodies Google Translate spat at me. Weird stuff in red. Bearing all this in mind, I now think of a river as a stream of water or other viscous substance of several different sizes flowing in a channel. Something that moves, something that meanders, a natural road, something that brings fertility and abundance, and perhaps a metaphor for time and/or consciousness. Time to hard-bake some of this goodness into my lexicon with a bit of derivation. So we can build a family of related words, a derivational morphology that'll take our root and turn it into multiple other words. Here's my demo derivation system. Next, I need to differentiate all those nams. By far the easiest way of doing this is affixation. You know, prefixes. Or suffixes. Let's go with suffixes. Next, I need to assign some nouns based on the root plus the various derivation combos in our list. So nam is simply my root concept, river. A large natural stream of water flowing in a channel to the sea, a lake, or another river. A place where you'd find rivers would be a river valley, floodplain. Notice how I'm doubling up the meanings in a non-English way. A river animal could be a fish. Every now and then try to get some cultural stuff in the lexicon by adding in informal or colloquial meanings. So namai could also refer to anything that lives in the water. Namai, 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 namai. A collection of rivers could be a river system, a network of rivers. Colloquially, it could refer to any point where two or more bodies of water meet and mingle. By extension then, it could also refer to the mingling of people, goods, ideas, transportation, money, etc. that would occur at the trade hotspots located primarily at river intersections. So, traffic and trade. And the river as an abstract concept is where I brought in the whole river as a metaphor for life thing from earlier. Life river is the idea that life can or should be lived like the river, navigating around impediments with ease in a kind of Hakuna Matata fashion, acknowledging that life has its calm and choppy parts, but ultimately we all flow to the sea. By extension, it also refers to the irreversible passage of time. The river ends up in the sea, so too the life river ends up in the sea of the afterlife. It's a sort of yin-yang worldview that my culture has, and it's my attempt at hard-baking even more cultural stuff into my lexicon. Interestingly, many types of affixation exist. There's the well-known prefix and suffix, but also infix, circumfix, interfix, duplifix, transfix, simulfix, superfix, and disfix. Links in the doobly-doo. So if we're feeling adventurous, we could circumfix river place. The river is literally contained within the river valley. Or we could infix river animal. The fish is literally contained within the river. A nice way of bringing a little flavour in, but in general, try to be systematic. Next up, my language has verbs, so I can add verbal forms to some or all of the nouns. So the verb nam is riffing off the flowing nature of rivers. It kinda means to flow, like one could flow, nam, to work in the morning, and flow, nam, back home again at the end of the day. With namai, it's tempting to use the English meaning of to fish, as in he fished for his ID. But let's think outside the box. Perhaps to fish, or to namai, could mean to prep your fish stall for market. Kinda like to fish up, if you will. And, by extension, it could have morphed into setting up any stall at any market. The cabbage vendor fishes up, namais, for the veg market. And the rest are pretty much just straight verbal versions of their respective nouns. Now my language also has adjectives, so I could just assign one to each entry, but just for fun, and to demo some more techniques, let's do this. Here I added a suffix with a consonant. Affixation isn't only for vowels. And collected all the meanings of the first set into the word namir. The most interesting which I think is this guy. In English, fishy has negative connotations, but here I wanted it to be positive. So in my culture, a namir person is a free-spirited type who understands their nami and namis well. Kinda like the personification of the above 6 entries. Now, although contentious, one can make a case that front vowels imply smallness, softness, or high pitch, whilst low and back vowels imply largeness, lowness, and low pitch. At least in English this kind of holds, but it also kind of doesn't. Either way, let's use this particular sound symbolism as inspiration for more derivation. The vowel change in neem gives us a smaller version of nam, so a small river, and also the small rivers of the body. And nam is a reduplication of nam, hinting at a larger structure. I left out the verb here because you really don't need to have perfect one-to-one noun-verb correlations. And that's kind of it. Going forward, I could start forming longer words by tacking on, or concatenating, other words to nam. And every time I create a new root, I can run it through the same set of derivations. Therefore, it's really important you choose a derivation system that is general and can be applied to most roots. In the language construction kit, Rosenfelder suggests this set, which is a great list, and I highly recommend using it or using something very similar. Now there's an obvious drawback to derivational morphology, and that's homogeneity. A lot of your language will begin to look really similar really quickly, and words can start to compound really fast. So it's something that needs to be managed, but this is a price I gladly pay for consistency and ease of execution, but it's not for everyone. So let me know in comments your preferred word building method. But for now, word building done and logged. Really important to stay organized, you will thank me later. Good morning, INTERWEB. So the world building method I outlined in this video is largely drawn from 2 sources. Mark Rosenfelder and his language construction kit. It's a great book, links in the doobly-doo, you should totally get it. And a Redditor who goes by the name of u/AskAdia. I came across this person's post a few months ago and they're just really good quality conlanging fodder. So thank you to the language construction kit. And thank you to AskAdia. Links in the doobly-doo, you can go check all of it out. Now the last thing I want to say is on the subject of sound symbolism. I don't want anyone going away from this video thinking that NatLangs necessarily use sound symbolism. It's more a thing I like to do just to impose creative restraints on myself. On the flip side as well, don't go too heavily down the sound symbolism route and make your languages like super onomatopoeic. It's just not going to work very well. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Rao.